We've already discussed that complexity, change, and opacity shape project performance and outlined how responsive delivery approaches can mitigate many of the challenges faced by mega projects. If exposure is structural, response can also be structural, and one of the most powerful structural levers available to leaders is role design. Clear role design also reduces cognitive load. When people understand what they're accountable for and what they're not, more mental energy can be directed towards solving real project problems rather than navigating organizational ambiguity. In many projects, a single coordination role is expected to shape sequencing decisions, maintain process discipline, report confidence to governance, and manage technical disagreements. This is a structural design flaw, and it creates a conflict of interest in weighting. Poor role clarity allows complexity, change, and opacity to grow unchecked. When sequencing assumptions are fragile, the person responsible for maintaining delivery confidence is also the person who must surface instability. Under complexity and change, this makes truth structurally difficult to communicate. Signals weaken, opacity increases, pseudo-certainty emerges, and small technical risks are recognized too late. Incentives can drift towards visible project progression rather than genuine organizational value. I saw this in real life. Project teams and project managers at a Eurasian oil facility were incentivized on project progression, which was not the same thing as whether the project was healthy for the organization. In such environments, opacity can become a defensive behavior rather than a failure of competence. This is my take on what Flubiog discusses in some of his observations. The solution is a separation of responsibilities. Technical feasibility authority must sit near experts. The people with the deepest understanding of engineering constraints must have primary influence over how solutions are integrated. Sequencing authority and detailed value-related judgment must sit near integration coordination, a project-level decision-maker charged with understanding the scope and how to align it for the best realization of value. Delivery structure should be isolated to a process owner whose responsibility is to ensure that the coordination system itself adapts to the project's evolving uncertainty profile. Project administration sits outside of the scope of the immediate project team, and commercial commitment authority should remain with the sponsoring executives. This setup drives focus among those delivering the project. It removes administration that is not relevant to them and simplifies escalation via a clear separation of responsibilities. Another problem is that decision authority is unclear under uncertainty. In uncertain environments, conflated roles and inherited frameworks often create unclear or distant decision ownership. Teams wait for direction, escalations move through organizational layers, opportunity windows close, and contracts are signed too early or too late. Capital continues to burn while sequencing stabilizes. This is financial exposure due to unclear role design. So what can we do? Design decision-making roles around functional domains. Executives create opportunity. They control capital allocation and can redirect or terminate projects. Their role is to require ongoing evidence that the opportunity remains strategically sound. Managers create delivery structure. This includes two distinct responsibilities: shaping how work is sequenced and shaping how coordination mechanisms operate. These should not sit in the same role. And then experts create technical certainty. They explore feasibility, surface emerging constraints, and stabilize cause-effect relationships over time. We can apply a reciprocal authority principle. The greater the detail, the closer the decision must sit to expertise. The greater the strategic consequence, the higher the authority required. Authority must therefore flow in both directions. Executives retain ultimate accountability and can override delivery decisions when strategic exposure changes. Experts and integration leaders must be able to challenge assumptions and propose decision reversals when new evidence emerges. When structured well, this reciprocity improves learning speed, shortens decision cycles, and protects capital commitment timing. Another issue is that delivery structures do not adapt as projects change. Projects gradually move from uncertainty to certainty, but the process is not necessarily linear. Yet traditional project management methods often fix delivery cadence, reporting rhythm, and decision forums regardless of context. When coordination structures remain static, the project cannot respond effectively to its own learning. Coordination overload increases, insight arrives too slowly, and risk accumulates silently. This can happen in any project phase. A solution is to treat delivery structure as an explicit role responsibility. A process owner or delivery system owner must adjust communication cadence in response to changing levels of complexity, change, and opacity. They need to design sequencing and decision forums so experts and leaders have predictable opportunities to resolve emerging issues. They should simplify coordination routines so effort is focused on understanding reality rather than managing process overhead. And they can strengthen visibility mechanisms so that when teams meet, they can communicate clearly about assumptions, dependencies, and emerging constraints. This ensures that the delivery system evolves with the project's uncertainty profile without turning it into a structure that is itself so dynamic it risks being chaotic. So what should organizations do? High-performing projects deliberately separate value authority, technical authority, and pacing authority. They design decision ownership around uncertainty conditions and assign responsibility for adapting delivery structure over time. This improves decision speed, signal clarity, sequencing quality, and capital efficiency. Role clarity is therefore not an administrative concern, it is governance engineering. Roles form the way that governance acts and is effective in projects, but they can only perform effectively if the delivery system supports learning, visibility, and timely decision-making. In the next discussion, we examine how delivery operating mechanics must be designed to enable this.